Welcome back. Today, we are diving into an incredibly fascinating explainer that's really going to reframe how we think about human biology. I want you to picture your body for a second as this super helpful, highly organized, and honestly, slightly overeager assistant. You know the type? Their entire job is to prepare the conference room of your body for a meeting that just might happen. They're setting up the chairs, pouring the water, turning on the projector, all without you even saying a word. And well, that is exactly what happens with the biology of female physiological arousal. It's an incredibly sophisticated, completely automatic process, and understanding how it's structured is absolutely going to blow your mind. Okay, let's dive right in, because this analogy perfectly hits the nail on the head. When we say a body responds physiologically to arousal, we are talking about an automatic, autonomic response. It is not a conscious choice. It's just like how your stomach growls when you see a delicious slice of pizza, or your eyes water automatically to protect themselves when you're chopping onions. Your body reacts to sexual stimuli to protect and prepare itself. You don't consciously command your eyes to water, right? And you don't consciously command your body's physical arousal responses either. To really unpack this today, we'll follow a clear roadmap. We're going to cover the automatic physical response, blood, lubrication, and expansion, the 4 phases of arousal, physical arousal versus desire, and finally, the factors influencing this whole response.
All right, kicking things off with part 1, the automatic physical response.
So let's meet the main character operating behind the scenes, pulling all the levers to drive this entire physiological process. It's your autonomic nervous system. Specifically, a process called parasympathetic activation. The moment a stimulus is introduced, this system just kicks into gear instantly. It shoots signals to the body to start prepping the vagina and vulva for potential sexual activity. Now, what's totally, absolutely crucial to remember here is the phrase, independently of conscious thought. Your body's nervous system is grabbing the wheel, acting as that enthusiastic assistant we talked about, just making sure everything is prepped and ready, regardless of what your conscious brain is actually focused on. And here's the thing, this prep work isn't just a local event. It's a full system, whole body alert. While we usually focus on the genital response, your entire body excitedly jumps into the action. Your nervous system cranks up vital signs across the board, your heart rate and breathing speed up to pump out more oxygen, your skin might flush from all that increased blood flow, your pupils literally dilate to take in more of your surroundings, and your overall muscle tension spikes. I mean, your whole body is physically coming online.
Which brings us right to part 2. Blood, lubrication, and expansion.
Now that the whole system is online, let's zoom in a bit. The body relies on these big 3 mechanisms to reduce friction, protect delicate tissues, and physically accommodate. The first of the big 3 is vasocongestion. It's a sciencey word, but basically, when that parasympathetic system fires up, the genital blood vessels dilate super fast. They just flood the vaginal walls, clitoris, and labia with blood. This makes the tissues much fuller, warmer, and significantly more sensitive. Now, what's really fascinating here is the physical change this triggers. Much like an erection in males, this massive rush of blood actually causes the vaginal walls and labia to change color, often shifting to a darker purplish or reddish hue because of all that highly concentrated oxygen-rich blood.
Because of all that localized blood pressure from vasocongestion, we get our second mechanism, transudation. And wow, this is an absolutely brilliant biological trick. You might think lubrication comes from a specific gland, right? Like saliva comes from salivary glands. Actually, scratch that. The primary source of wetness is plasma transudate. It's fluid that literally seeps directly through the vaginal walls from those engorged blood vessels sitting right underneath. Imagine morning dew forming on the surface of grass. That's kind of what's happening. While the Bartholin's glands near the entrance do pitch in a minor amount of thicker mucus, the vast majority of this lubrication is plasma. Its job is to reduce friction, maintain the vaginal pH, and even support sperm survival.
And just look at this time frame, 10 to 30 seconds. This incredible transudation process, this structural engineering marvel of plasma seeping through tissue, usually kicks off within just 10 to 30 seconds of effective stimulation. The sheer speed and efficiency of this biological assistant is staggering. Before your conscious mind can even fully process a situation, your body is already seconds into its structural prep work. Okay, the third mechanism is expansion, often referred to as the tent effect, and it happens in 3 brilliant, distinct steps. First up, as smooth muscles relax, the inner 2/3 of the vagina actually lengthens and widens. It essentially balloons outward. See, the vaginal walls have these natural folds and ridges called rugae. During this step, those rugae unfold and stretch out beautifully, allowing the tissue to expand significantly without tearing, all while maintaining a textured surface for sensation. Step 2 of the tent effect involves a literal relocation of organs. Seriously. The uterus, which usually sits right at the top of the vaginal canal, is actually pulled upward and out of the way. This cute little upward lift is what we call tenting, and it serves a very functional purpose. It creates more space in the upper vaginal vault to comfortably accommodate penetration without causing pain or trauma to the cervix. And finally, step 3 of the tent effect. This one completely contrasts the first step. While the inner 2/3 widens and expands, the outer third, near the opening, actually narrows and engorges with blood. This lower narrowing creates a gripping sensation. It essentially completes the body's brilliant architectural changes, creating a structure that is spacious and protective all at the same time.
Moving right along to part 3, the 4 phases of arousal.
So we've seen the mechanics, but how does this build across a timeline? Let's use the famous Masters and Johnson model to see the chronological sequence. This model breaks arousal down into 4 distinct phases. First is excitement, where that fast 10 to 30-second lubrication kicks off and the blood rushes in. Then we hit the plateau phase. This is where the body reaches full engorgement, maximum lubrication, and that darker tissue coloration we talked about earlier. Next is orgasm, the absolute peak of physical arousal. This phase is characterized by highly organized, rhythmic contractions of the pelvic floor muscles and that narrowed outer third of the vagina, typically happening every 0.8 seconds. Finally, we have resolution, where the blood flow drops, tissues return to their normal size and color, and the vagina shortens again. Oh, and an interesting biological note here. Unlike men, women often have an absent or much less pronounced refractory period. This means they can potentially return to the orgasm phase from plateau multiple times before full resolution.
All right, now I want to slow down just a bit for part 4, physical arousal versus desire. We're stepping away from the cool biological mechanics for a moment to discuss the single most crucial, serious takeaway of this entire explainer, the critical difference between physical arousal and desire. So, the crucial point is, these two things are fundamentally different experiences, and they don't always align. Physical arousal is an automatic body preparation driven purely by nerve impulses and blood flow. Conscious desire, on the other hand, is your mind. It's your mental wanting, your subjective emotional state, your active choice. Here is the reality. A person can feel immense desire but have zero physical response. Conversely, and very importantly, a person can show all the physical signs of arousal, the swelling, the lubrication, the heart rate, without actually wanting sex at all. So why is this distinction so incredibly critical? Why do we need to separate the body's reaction from the mind's intention? Because misunderstanding this disconnect has massive implications. In medicine, doctors need to know that a lack of physical lubrication doesn't necessarily mean a lack of sexual interest. It could just be hormonal. In psychology, patients need to know their bodies aren't broken if their physical response lags a bit behind their mental state. But most importantly, when we're navigating discussions of consent, it is absolutely vital to understand that a physical biological reaction is never, ever a substitute for a conscious, enthusiastic yes. The body's autonomic nervous system cannot give consent, only the conscious mind can.
Let's bring the energy back up for our final section, Part 5, Factors Influencing the Response.
Because as perfectly engineered as this biological system is, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? Let's look at the variables that can change this biological equation from person to person and honestly day to day. The human body is a dynamic system. Estrogen, for example, is the key hormone supporting tissue thickness, elasticity, and the capacity for lubrication. So naturally, situations that lower estrogen, like menopause or breastfeeding, can inhibit or reduce these physical responses. Psychological factors are absolutely huge too. High stress or mental distraction acts like a brake pedal on the parasympathetic nervous system, stopping arousal right in its tracks. And of course, individual variation means everyone's normal is going to look different. If a body needs a little extra help achieving the friction reduction it needs due to any of these factors, just remember that water-based or silicone lubricants are incredibly safe, wonderful helpers to assist the biology. Which brilliantly brings us back to our whole theme for today, captured perfectly by this quote from our sources. Your body is basically just an endlessly enthusiastic assistant. It senses a stimulus and immediately starts arranging the chairs, setting up the projector, and prepping the room for a meeting that the conscious mind might actually decide to cancel. It's a total marvel of evolutionary preparation, designed to protect the body and facilitate life, operating entirely on its own perfectly timed schedule. So that leaves us with a fascinating question to take away today. Whether it's your stomach rumbling at a food commercial, your eyes watering on a windy day, or the incredibly complex, beautiful mechanics of physical arousal, next time your body reacts automatically to a stimulus, ask yourself, is this your conscious mind making a decision, or is it just your enthusiastic biology hard at work behind the scenes? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible topic. Stay curious, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.